recording. All right, let's do it.
Okay, welcome to the call, everyone. Little different today. Me and Kristen are going to share some different things about how to be more productive and just some different tips and different things. I know I'm going to share some stuff that has been like a battle for me. And usually they say if there's someone dealing with something in your business or just in life or whatever, that other people also maybe are dealing with it too. So hopefully it's helpful for everyone and we get through this, get this Monday started and get this week started on the right foot. So Kristen, do you want to talk about the podcast?
You want me to go first?
Well, no, that wasn't the plan, was it?
I was like, okay,
Kristen, let me just throw it at you.
It's fine. I don't think that's what we talked about, but okay.
And I couldn't get my computer to work. I moved just recently and I feel like there's been all these things, but anyway, it's not recognizing my password that I swear is my password. So my computer's locked. So I'm just holding my phone right now. So that's not that atypical for me anyway. Me and computers we're not buddies, but
I'm totally good with going if you want me to really quick.
Yeah, either way.
No, okay, you go.
Sort of all. What's that?
You go then.
Okay. Okay, so we're talking about productivity and one of the things for me at least is, I mean, I can hear about how to be more productive and how to get more done and know all the things to do all the time, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's perfect, whatever. I can write it all down. I can listen to podcasts on it. I can do all the things. But for me, if my headspace isn't right, all of that info in the world isn't going to put me in the right spot to actually get it done. And it doesn't matter whether it's like cleaning something out or getting something done, that's on my, all of us have a million things on our to-do list that we always need to get done. And we know if we would just like start to tackle it, we would feel way better. But I feel like you have to have the right headspace to be able to do those things, to move forward and to really be productive and to get the things done. And you can kind of like slow go it. And I'm going to be 100% honest. Really since like mid-June, I would say like I have turtled in this business, like 100%, like the slowest moving, like just the bare minimum of what I needed to do is what I have done. And sometimes life's like that, right? Life threw me a doozy and it took over and it's like I couldn't get my head right around anything because there was just like nothing left mentally, physically, emotionally with what was going on in my life. So it slowly trickled off too, right? In the beginning, I was still trying to like do the things and like muscle through it, but my headspace wasn't right. And as I've like reflected on that this past week, like what do I need to do to get myself excited to get moving and to really get done the things I need to do each day? And how have I done this for the past, 3.5 years when things have been tough? Because it's not like life's been a piece of cake, and it rarely is for anyone, right? We all have our battles that we're dealing with and all, things that take us out of our normal day-to-day, like we feel great. But what it came down to for me was like, if I'm not doing the things I normally do, right? If I'm not taking the time to, for me personally, like meditate every morning, if I'm not putting something in my ears to change my perspective and keep me motivated and help me see life a little bit differently or help motivate me, like if I'm not doing those things, then other things start to slide everywhere. And I'm just not me. I'm not nearly as efficient. So even when life is taking over, even when life is crazy busy, the one thing that I have changed in this past week is I started putting podcasts in my ears again, listening to things, even just positive music that I know uplifts me, that I know like helps me rise in, spirit and helps me feel happy and joyful and alive and all of those things, peaceful. Those make the biggest difference for me in how well I'm going to do that day. And I've still gotten the things done on my list that are required of me, like family, house, jobs, laundry. Like, I've still done those things because those are things staring at you in the face all the time, right? But like with our Plexus business, no one's going to come knock on my door and say, where are you? You're not at work. Or, hey, I'm looking at your productivity for the past, week, month, whatever. You're really slacking off. I think we're going to have to let you go. Like, no one's going to do that to us in Plexus. And I mean, Sammy will send me like little reminders like, hey, you alive? Hey, you still love Plexus? Like, which thank goodness for our upline. Thank goodness for our sidelines. Thank goodness for our team that checks in with us and does that. And Kristen would do that from time to time too. Like, hey, how you doing? How can I help? Like, whatever, right? How lucky are we to just have like cheerleaders instead of people knocking at us to like produce more, be more, show up more, right? At the end of the day, this is your business. This is my business. So it's up to us how much we do or don't do.
Yeah. And I 100% agree with like what you're saying with the mindset, because same with me, like we've been back and forth trying to build this house and I had no idea it was going to take this long. Like at this point, I'm like, I feel like I would not have decided to do this if I would have known it was going to be, we were still doing it. Right. So I've like been back and forth from Twila to Heber multiple times a week and I'm exhausted. And I literally stopped. Like I just didn't have time. Like I would listen to my podcast and stuff on the drive, which was great. And I actually utilized that driving time for the podcast. But I still feel like I was neglecting like exercise and anything. And like literally just this last week, I finally went back to the gym a couple times with Angela and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so, it was amazing like how my mind even just, I was like, oh, I'm not as irritated today because I actually moved my body. It's amazing how consistent we need to be at that stuff. And you just let it go when you have other things to do.
100%. And it's amazing to me too, like how quickly things slide. And I was thinking about this too, because like the gym has been very sporadic for me over the past 3 months. And it's crazy how hard you can work for something and then how quickly things atrophy. And it's the same in everything in your life. You can work really hard on a relationship, and if you stop putting in the time, it atrophies. You can work really hard on your business, and if you stop putting in the time, it atrophies. Like I can go back to the gym now and it's not like all is lost, right? When I go, like, but I have to work to recover things that are lost.
Right.
And
right.
that's just like my business, as I'm looking at my back office again, like y'all legit, I have not looked at my back office in 3 months. No lie, nothing. I've placed my order. That is it. Like I've stayed consistent on my products. Why? Because they work and I'm a mess without them. So like, I know I'm not going anywhere in this business. I know they work. I know they healed me. I know they changed my life. I'm totally unwilling to go without them. So I have them, but I haven't done the things that help move me forward in the business. Checking threads. The funny thing about atrophy too, like even me just like getting back to the gym, like walking in there, I feel stupid. Like, yeah, I've been gone for 3 months basically. And it's the same thing in like the team threads. Like I even told Sammy this the other day, like I feel like an imposter or dumb chiming in because I've been absent. Like people be like, why is she even saying anything? Like she's going to shout out a level 1 after 2 months of being gone. You know what I mean? And this is all comparison. This is all what gets us into trouble, and also totally messes with productivity too, right? Because it shuts you down. And so these are all like the things that are swirling in my head and that I've been dealing with and in my heart and whatever. So I just wanted to talk real quick before we have Kristen kind of share how to be more productive. A few things that I came across that, just to remember that like being more productive, like it starts right here, right? in this space and in your heart. Like that's where it starts. Those things have to be right before you can actually show up as your authentic self and do the thing and be a light that pulls people to you and what you have to share and what you and what can change their lives too. For you to be able to show up in your light, all that stuff has to be right within you too, right? So there are a few things to do less of if you want to get your headspace right. And I just jotted them down, like do less of negative energy. If you notice you're in a negative headspace, find something in that minute, even if it's 60 seconds of listening to a favorite song, if it's stretching for a minute, if it's just walking outside and taking a few deep breaths in, find something to change your energy. External validation. We don't need it. We think we do. We look for it all the time. How many likes did you get on that post? Who commented? Are people even watching your Plexus stuff? Who cares? They are. They're watching it. They're not speaking up. They're watching on the sidelines. They're seeing if you're still going to show up, even if it looks like you have crickets. Overthinking. I think this is something we do all the time. We get in our heads, just like what I said. I can't jump back in the Here We Go's red. I've been gone. Like, what will people think? What do people think about me in there? Like, are people rolling their eyes at me? Like, do you know, you can overthink yourself right out of everything in your life, anything good, right? That goes right along with like doubting your self-worth. We are all worthy exactly as we are in the moment right now, and every moment going forward, and every moment in the past. Everyone's doing the best that they can, and we're worthy. You're always worthy. So like letting go of self-doubt is a big one. Inauthentic relationships. We're not in this business to have inauthentic relationships. This is so classic because you can half show up for people when you don't feel good about yourself, when you're not in your right headspace. I have had so many relationships suffer in the past 3 months while I've been dealing with my stuff, just because it's almost like it took too much headspace. But the people who know me for who I am and love me know that just a text back of being like, I'm overwhelmed, this is too much, they get it and they love me and they support me where I am. So foster those authentic relationships you have and let go of who tear you down or drag you down or make you feel not enough when you can't show up for everyone all the time. Fear of failure. That's a big one, right? I think we all suffer with that, just struggling to be enough. And what if I go all out and don't make it? Do you know how many times I've gone all out for Emerald? I can't even count, honestly. It's been like every month for like 2.5 years. With the months, that where you get discouraged and then you think this is never going to happen and like whatever. Your rank doesn't matter. Like the fear of failure is such a monster that just gets in our way, right? And it's just, it stinks. Rushing. Do less of rushing. Take your time. Be, intentional about what you're doing. Take your time with your post. You know how many times I've rushed a post and then been like, why did I even put that up there? Like, you can't even feel my heart in this one. That's so dumb. Sometimes we just think I just have to get something on my story every single day. But people can see through that and it doesn't pull light to you anyway. And then just definitely comparing yourself to others. We already kind of talked about that, and apologizing for being you. Be authentic, be yourself. Always continue to show up as you. You're always going to have haters. Most time you have haters because people are threatened by you showing up in your light because they don't feel like they can do it. So just always remember that. Okay. So if we do less of all those things, I feel like we'll be in more of a good headspace and be more productive. And Kristen's going to talk about that.
Yeah. And so I listened to a podcast by Rachel Hollis last week, and actually, I don't even know what the title was. I can send a link to it because if you guys want to listen to it, it was really good. It had something to do with walking 1,000 miles. And she starts out how do you walk 1,000 miles? And she starts out and she's like, to walk 1,000 miles, you have to start with mile 1. And you're like, oh my gosh, when you're on mile 1, you're like, oh my heck, I still have 999 miles left. This is so overwhelming, right? So she goes in and she talks about how to be productive in a way that you don't have to feel depleted. And I think that was like one of the most important things I think that I think we need to understand is that we can be productive and do the things that we need to do without feeling depleted. Because I think, just like Heather was just saying, like a lot of these things that we try and do in order to try and be productive, it's overwhelming and it makes us want to give up and quit. And so she went over like 5 different ways to try and be better at being productive. And the first one was to figure out what time of day you were most productive. And that's what's so funny is because we're all different. And like even on this call, like if I were to ask each one of you what time of day you think you're productive, why don't you guys put it in the chat? Like what type of day? And I think it's changed for me over time too. Like I feel like I've never been a morning person, and we were always up late nights. Just it's kind of funny actually, because all my kids are gone now. And I feel like we were a really bad example on our kids because we were like really late night people, and we were like up late every night. We were dragging our butts out of bed all the years that I was getting my kids to school. And it's probably just since I've been doing Plexus, right? And I've been working on all this stuff. Been working on mindset and business stuff and feeling better and energy and whatever, that I actually do get up earlier in the mornings. And by 8 or 9 o'clock at night, you guys, if you're doing the similar thing, you're probably like this, like by 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I am like dead. Like I want to go to bed so bad. And so I feel like if you would have asked me when I was best productive 5 years ago, I probably would have said in the evenings or at nighttime. But I feel like now it's more in the mornings, because it is right when I get up and I feel more refreshed and more energetic or whatever. But again, it's different for everybody. And so in the podcast, she was talking about how it's a good idea to figure out when that time is, and if you know what time of day you're going to be better productive, do everything in your power to schedule around that time and be able to put in the time of what you want to do. So of course, like in order to be productive, you need to know what you want to get out of that day. So so one of the other things she points out is that she plans her day every day. So before she goes to bed at night, she gets out a notebook, and there's different ways to do this. Like you could use a list in your phone or write it down. But she says that she actually takes the time every night before she goes to bed, and she thinks about what she wants tomorrow to look like and what results she wants to get out of the day tomorrow. And then she kind of thinks about what it is that she needs to be able to do tomorrow in order to get those results. And so she 100% tries to plan the time of day that she's most productive to be able to try and work on those things that in order to get her results, she wants to work on those things during that specific time. And then she obviously points out, we're not all 100% in control of our time. Obviously, if we have kids and we've got jobs and we've got all these things to do, right? We have to plan around those things when we're taking the kids to school and when we're doing all the carpooling and when we have to do our, if we have other jobs and whatever. So she's like, obviously, we are people and we have responsibilities and we have to work around those times. But she's like, everybody has some time in the day that they are 100% in control of. And if you are conscious of those times and work on the things that will get you results during those times, then that's one of the ways that you're going to be more productive. The other thing she talks about is not wasting your time on busy work. And the example she gives is somebody who knew that they needed to get their website out for their business. So they spent hours and hours and hours of time trying to make it look pretty, right? Make it look pretty and make it look whatever. And it was kind of she's like, making your website, a website's important in a business, depending on what you're doing, right? And for us, it would probably be social media posts, right? So it's a good idea and something that we have to do in order to plan what we're going to post and get our posts out because we have a social media business. But if you're spending hours trying to do one post just because you want it to look perfect and make it look pretty, then that is busy work. And that's not what's going to get you results. So she's like, so you have to weigh that and go back and forth on whether, and I think that's where we have a lot of things where we can take advantage of what other people have already done. I think that's the nice thing about what we do and all the different Facebook groups and Instagram groups that we're a part of, is that we can share information. So I love that we can just grab a post that somebody else did and we can tweak it a little bit to make it our own. and we don't have to spend a whole lot of time making like recreating the will and recreating all those posts. So I think that's awesome. And then the other thing that she does talk about is that it's important to plan things. In order to be productive, you actually have to put in the planning in order to make it work. And it was funny because she said, failing to plan is planning to fail. And I had written that down, and it was just a couple days later that I was listening to something else. And I actually think it was like a Come Follow Me or something like that. It was one of the church posts or something that I was listening to where they quoted the exact same quote. And I was like, oh, I'm like, I feel like if I hear the same quote twice in 1 week, then I'm like, oh, I feel like that's something that really needed to resonate with me this week. Because so this is again where she was talking about how she sits down every night and kind of plans the day, plans tomorrow, and she writes down a list of the things that she wants to do in order to be productive and get the results that she wants tomorrow. And I do feel like I need to work on that. I feel like I'm not very good at doing that, and that is something that I need to work on. So it was kind of funny that I noticed it in 2 different places last week. But then I just wrote down like several of the quotes and the things that she said during the podcast, like successful people do things that unsuccessful people won't do. And then she goes in to talk about how doing these same things every day. And I feel like we've already been taught that. I feel like Sammy's been telling us, like similar things ever since we even started doing this business, that just doing the small things every day and being consistent with it every day will pay off in the long run. And I liked how she kind of talked about like what happens is that either things get in the way and distract us, right, from doing the things that we need to do every day, or we get to the point where we feel good about it and things are working well, so we kind of back off and we don't do the things every day that we're supposed to be doing, or we're drowning. And when we get to the point where we're drowning, then we're like, oh crap, I need to do these things again. And I feel like that's kind of what Heather and I just talked about, that we've done all summer, right? Like we got busy with all these things that were distracting us, and so we stopped doing the things that we were supposed to be doing every day, and then we feel like we're drowning. So then we're like, oh crap, we got to catch up and we got to do this thing every day. And then, but she's like, just keep swimming. Like if you swim every day, it's the same skills that we do every day that are going to keep us from drowning, that will also get us ahead. And it was actually really funny too, because this is another thing where I noticed that I was listening to President Nelson's talk from conference again this last week too, and he said the exact same thing. He said, the things that you do now are the things that will the same things that will get you to exaltation or eternity or whatever. So I just was like, I thought it was so funny how it was like, we are really learning to do the same things. It's the same every day. Just be consistent. If we can keep doing the same things, the mindset, the meditation, the exercise, the taking our supplements. And it was funny when Heather was talking about those things too, because like because I've been going back and forth between where, like, my house in Stansbury, I'm living with my sister up in Heber, we're going to the new house. I don't, like, my stuff is dragged all over the place. I've got stuff here, and I don't know where anything is. And there have been a lot of times where I forgot my supplements, and I've got somewhere and I'm like, crap, I forgot my supplements. And so I haven't been as consistent with them as I should have been. And it is amazing how different, how I feel like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need those so bad. So it's just like crazy. They work, right? They work, and we have to be consistent at taking the supplements. We have to be consistent at doing all the mindset things and doing all the little things every day and doing all these things to keep our business going. And if we can figure out how to be more productive, like they're stating in here, and just do those little things every day, then it will mainstream be more productive. We'll be able to be more productive. So, and then the last thing that she talked about was getting rid of every single thing that is not what you want to accomplish. And I think Heather kind of led to that too when she was talking at the very end, that like, weed out all the things that you're doing that don't get you the results that you're wanting. So like, it was kind of funny listening to her because her example was like, she's got friends that they like to get high. So she's just like, so I've got these friends that like just recreation, it started out recreational, so they like to get high, but then it gets that now they're getting high when they go here, and now they're getting high when they go there. And she's just like, if I'm going to be productive, I can't be getting high all the time. And I don't think, that's not an issue for me, but for me, it would be more like even social media, right? Like we are in the business with social media, so we have to be on social media, but I do still feel like I don't utilize my time using with social media the way that I should. I do sometimes find myself scrolling mindlessly for no reason, and I end up being on there way longer than I should have been. And so I feel like that's one of the things that I could probably be way more intentional about, is just only being on social media for a certain amount of time and making the comments and loving people like I want to, but then not doing the mindless scrolling, because the mindless scrolling isn't getting the results that I want to get. Do you guys have any other examples of things that you guys feel like, the distractions that you feel like you could get rid of? Like some of the distractions we can't control, but we actually only have a few more minutes anyway, but that's pretty much all I had. So
Okay, so do you have anything that you think would be helpful from all of that? I love everything you just shared. It's so good. As like an action that everyone could take for like the week. It's like one small thing you could, like, if you pulled something from there, or something that you've decided, like, this is something I'm going to work on this week.
well, that's for me. I think that I want to, this week, what I want to focus on is I want to take an hour a day, probably in the morning, because I do feel like that's when I'm more productive, and I want to plan out my social media posts.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one for yeah, whatever everyone's hour that they're most productive in the day. I think that's a really good one, and it'll be fun to see if everyone is posting more.
Yeah. Or even
and more
send
intentional,
messages. Right. Like maybe 30 minutes of planning posts and 30 minutes of messaging.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's perfect. Okay, so there was a quote that I came across while I was looking, and I just think it's a good way to maybe close out the call. Unless, Kristen, do you have anything else that you want to add or say?
So
Okay. So it just says, act like the person you want to become. You're already her. It's your essence desiring to find a path through which to go out and shine. And perhaps that path is your inspiration, that dream, your vision. Believe in yourself, move with pure intentions, and I promise you, you will thrive. And I loved it because we are Thrive Tribe. And I just thought that sort of wraps up everything. Like, move forward with intention, be exactly who you are, show up in your authentic light, share the way that only you can share, because there are people that you will attract only because you're you. There are people I can't touch that you can touch. There are people Kristen can touch that I can't touch. Like, just keep showing up as you, and believing in your vision and believing in your dream. And in order to do that, you have to do the mindset stuff, but then you have to put it into action too. So hopefully everyone will focus a little bit more on mindset, put something in your ears, get yourself in a better energy, like whatever that looks like, and commit to your 1 hour that you're most productive in the day. We all definitely have one. I think in the chat, most people said morning, so that's awesome. But whatever your time is, take advantage of it, schedule it into your day. And I think, spending 30 minutes planning out posts or getting posts ready to go and up or saved or read it, whatever, and 30 minutes of messaging, I think for most of us, that would, move the needle in a big way in all of our businesses. So I think that's it. I hope everyone has a great week. It was fun to be on here with all of you again.